Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for today's webinar, Remote Support Tools, Then vs. Now. My name is Melanie, and I'm part of the Rescue Marketing team, and I'll be your moderator today. I have just a few housekeeping items to cover before we kick off the conversation. First up, you'll notice GoToWebinar control panel will appear on the right side of your main screen. You're muted by default to help minimize the background noise, but this certainly does not mean that we don't want to hear from you. Your insight is an important piece of this webinar, so please send in your comments via the chat feature throughout. If you have any questions, please submit those questions through the question portion of your control panel. I'll be monitoring those throughout the webinar, and we'll have time for Q&A at the end. This webinar will be recorded. If you think someone else on your team would benefit from today's topic or need to hop off the call early, no problem. You will receive a link to today's recorded webinar afterwards. Lastly, just as a reminder, we work from home, so please excuse any potential background noise from dogs, children, or anything else. We'll try to keep that down to a minimum. So let's get started. We appreciate you choosing to spend part of your day with us, and we're really excited to discuss this topic. To start out, I want to introduce you to our speakers for this webinar, Marie Russo and Chris Handley. Marie is the Director of Product Marketing for a Support Solutions Group at GoTo and plays a key role in helping the organization address buyer needs in the hybrid work models throughout its market-leading remote support solutions. Marie has 20 years of experience understanding contact center and IT needs across a variety of industries, including high-tech, telecommunications, and financial services. Chris is a product manager for the GoTo Premier Remote Solutions Group, Rescue, and works closely with some of GoTo's largest enterprise customers. Chris has been with GoTo for almost 7 years and has over 13 years of experience in the tech industry. His early experiences in tech support and later as a technical relationship manager fuel his passion to improve the support experience and uncover customer needs. Now I'll hand things over to Marie.
Thanks so much for that introduction, Melanie. Welcome to the broadcast today, folks. Thanks for being with us. So today we're going to talk about remote support tools, then versus now. We know that these tools have been an indispensable part of an organization's ability to diagnose, troubleshoot, and fix a customer's tech support issues. Now, we've also known that many of us, our lives have changed over the last 2 years, and now contact centers are taking stock of their existing portfolio of technology to determine whether their current remote support tool set truly safeguards their end users and empowers their support agents, allowing them to overcome a new set of challenges created by flexible work and the digital habits of consumers while still delivering on a great customer experience. So on the agenda for today, we're going to talk about some pandemic trends that are going to impact long-term remote support strategies. We'll also get into what are some of the security safeguards needed to build customer trust in a digital-first world. And finally, we'll talk through some key considerations for evaluating remote support tools today. And as Melanie said, we'll save time at the end for some questions. Let's go. So, like we said, a lot's changed in the last 2 years. Knowledge workers went home to work, and now nearly 2/3 of of contact center agents are working remotely or in a hybrid work situation, according to a commissioned study conducted by IDG on behalf of Rescue. And only 36% of agents are now in a company facility full-time. That same study revealed that as a result of this, there's been a 62% increase in tech support requests handled remotely compared to 2 years ago. What's interesting also is that one of the biggest changes in the day-to-day experience for these contact center agents is the heavier use of collaboration tools to help solve some of their support issues. So 56% actually of our survey respondents said they're relying on collaboration tools now more than ever to help get work done. And at the same time, cyber criminals have been very busy. They've increasingly targeting individuals and their devices. This data point is really important because it shows the sophistication of these criminals and exposes a threat that many remote support tools need to protect against, especially in remote work environments. So as you see here, 85%, most data breaches, a staggering 85%, were involved in some kind of human element. So whether it's a phishing scam, stolen credentials, or human error, and 36% of breaches last year involved phishing. That's a huge increase over the prior year. And we'll get into why that's so important in a little while with Chris. But those aren't the only pandemic trends I want to touch on today. There's a few more that I really think are going to shape the future of tech support. There's that are going to highlight also a need for specific functionality in your remote support tool. So first, it's the impact of supply chain disruptions on tech support. Next, we're going to talk about that the consumer's digital habits. They're not giving up some of the habits that they've adopted during the pandemic when they were first forced to stay at home and do much of their life and business online. And finally, we're going to talk about the impact of the Great Resignation on staffing and training your contact center. So, supply chain disruption, that is going to linger. It's impacted everything from toilet paper to electronics. And with fewer parts or wholesale replacements available for consumers, troubleshooting and break fix scenarios are going to be the first and only line of defense for some organizations. This is due to limited inventory to replace faulty hardware and equipment. There's even going to be there will be even a greater need for fast and reliable support as a result of this. The second trend is that digital experiences are going to matter more. These consumer habits are sticking around for the long run. 2 years ago, consumers were forced online. They adopted these habits and they're unlikely to give them up. According to the Digital Consumer Report by Appnovation, over half of consumers believe that online experiences are going to be more important than in person ones. And this goes for your remote support sessions as well. So, how can you make those experiences as easy as possible? Now, two trends that I think directly correlate, these two trends I think directly correlate to the top customer care and support goals that our survey participants identified. So, specifically here, we asked leaders of support centers to tell us, what are your organization's top goals with respect to customer support over the next 12 months? The number one spot was improving the customer experience and ease of getting service and support, followed closely by improving the speed of problem resolution. So how fast can we resolve that problem for a customer, and how can we make that a really easy and enjoyable experience for them? Now, in order to meet these objectives, our survey showed that customer support leaders have placed the greatest importance on securely connecting to customers, simplifying that experience for those customers, but also providing their agents with reliable and secure support tools. So here the question asked, how important are the following objectives to meet your customer care and support goals over the next 12 months? The dark blue bar indicates critical, the light blue bar as very important, orange as somewhat important, and so on and so forth. So again, as you can see, the majority are really concerned about how do we securely connect to our customers and make it an easy experience, and then providing those reliable and secure support tools. Now, at the same time, as support centers want to improve that customer experience and simplify and resolve issues faster, contact center attrition is on the rise. It's skyrocketing. Our data shows that attrition has jumped to as high as 80% since the pandemic, and tech support specialists, according to Indeed, they rank among the highest turnover jobs. So this is going to increase the challenge for organizations in order to deliver on those CX when they've got a turning over workforce that was traditionally also already had historically high agent attrition rates. It's now, more than doubled. And they've got to find ways to still deliver that great CX with an ever new workforce. So with that, we're going to talk to Chris about some of the key considerations you need to be thinking about when evaluating remote support tools for today's world in customer support. Are you ready, Chris?
I'm ready. Let's do this. Thanks, Marie, and thanks
All
for everyone
right.
for listening today.
All right. So, what devices are you supporting? Now, this seems like a very basic question, but as you think about how your support model has changed over the last 2 years, in the past, did you have a walk-up service or provide service on site in someone's home so that a technician could physically inspect a device? How are you able to do that today, given that consumers are increasingly looking for digital first situations for getting the service and support that they need? So, Chris, walk us through some of the things that we should be looking for in a remote support tool today in terms of device support.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think first and foremost, as you mentioned, consumers' habits have changed. We're so used to now getting everything we want digitally, and that means we're accessing content and services on a multitude of devices. And as a support organization, you need to be able to support those same devices. And that takes the form of many platforms, Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Android. And a product like Rescue can stand with you and support all of the different devices that you might have your customers accessing the content or the software that you're supporting. And it has to be fast and it has to be reliable. And at the same time, you need to arm the technicians with a tool that gives them the ability to troubleshoot and resolve an issue quickly as possible. Obviously, we all want to get back to our day today, right? So ensuring that the product can give your customers that satisfaction is extremely important. And as you mentioned, it's not just these digital devices that we have to support. Now, this idea of supporting physical devices in the home is definitely one that's we're seeing a trend towards. And you want a product that can really, stand shoulder to shoulder with you. And obviously, it's so frustrating, for both the agent and the end user to try and troubleshoot a physical device over the phone. And that's why with a product like Lens, you can actually physically see the device that you're supporting. No more kind of describing in the dark of what you're seeing. And that really boosts, the customer satisfaction. It's easier for the agent and the customer. You're saving money on truck rolls, fewer engagements, fewer returns as well. Obviously, you mentioned the inventory shortage. Being able to fix a device in the field without actually physically having to go and support it by doing that remotely, I mean, the savings there are going to be huge across the board.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's so true. And when I think about some of the tech support needs I had over the last 2 years, whether it was having someone come in and install, broadband service to our home or whatnot,
Excellent.
the ability to have someone, like you say, stand shoulder to shoulder with you and see what you're seeing without that awful game of telephone. That's why remote support tools are so powerful. You can remote in and see what's happening. And here's that same experience um, in a very powerful way that can guide the end user towards a resolution.
Absolutely.
Okay, our next thing to consider, our next evaluation is securely connecting to any PC, Mac, or mobile device on any network from anywhere at any time. So, our data showed that secure connections are the #1 objective of customer support leaders to deliver on their CX and faster resolution goals. Chris, I know this is the secret sauce of Rescue, so walk us through it.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Rescue is very flexible in a number of ways. And when I think about security, it really takes many forms. There's protection for your end users and your agents. There's the trust element, and then there's this data privacy and encryption element. Um, and some of the features that Rescue has that can really protect both your agents and your customers, I'm going to outline here. So first of all, a self-hosted PIN page. This also feeds into the element of trust. You want your customers to be able to reach your support staff on a site that's familiar to them. And Rescue gives you that flexibility. We give you the HTML building blocks of a pin entry site, and you can deploy that to your own website at no additional cost to you. And kind of layering on top of that, we have this idea of what we call company pin code validation. And that is really a bulletproof way to ensure that your customers are receiving support from your agents. There's no room for error. You know, if somebody does try and maliciously con a customer into accepting a support session, their pin code, their access code is going to fail because it's not from your organization. And having that kind of barrier there is key to ensuring, you know, phishing scams and access to these systems does not take place. And going one step further than that, you can actually add domain validation so that your PIN codes can only be accepted on your own website. So there's no room for spoofing. You know, we've seen people that copy websites with company logos, all kinds of awful stuff. And the domain validation ensures that you're keeping your user where they're supposed to be. You also want to ensure that your agents accessing the product, you know, are accessing it from the location they're supposed to be. So you can restrict their login to a specific range of IPs, whether that's your VPN or trusted network. That's definitely key. And then finally, the restricted access package. It's a very powerful package that Rescue has that allows you to lock down the IP ranges and ensure that end users in a given IP are only receiving support from a specific Rescue account, or you can ensure that Rescue technicians from a certain Rescue account can only give support to end users within a specific IP range. So some really powerful features there.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So Chris, what's the cost for all of that?
Well, you won't believe it, but all of that comes at no additional cost. That's included out of the box of Rescue.
That's awesome. It's all free, no nickel and diming. That's super important. It's something that, you know, GoTo has really considered a hallmark of our business is security is of the utmost priority, and there shouldn't be a paywall to access it.
Absolutely.
So walk us through, you talked a little bit about that customer trust. Tell us a little bit about how Rescue can help enable that.
Yeah, so Rescue, like I said, it's very flexible. And the idea of trust, you know, you want to put your logo out there. You want your customer to know that the support they're receiving is from you. They're in the right place. They're talking to the right person. Um, and Rescue has several entry points, and every single one of them is brandable. And again, these are all free. These are no additional costs. So the first one I mentioned is the pin page. If you have a site, a customer-facing site that you're engaging your customers on, you take the HTML building block and you can brand it as you wish. You know, you can add your logo. You can make it feel like a natural part of your website. It's not kind of this bolt-on thing. And users, you know, they're familiar with your website. They know where to go, and they know they're in the right place. And for other use cases, you know, maybe you're a support organization offering a service, and you're talking to your customer over the phone. You can actually brand the downloadable applet that the customer downloads when they're in the support session. So you've got the entry point that's branded, and then going one step further, the actual software that runs and allows you to interact with the user, you can brand that as well. You know, give it a custom name, put your logo in there, adjust the colors. There's really a lot you can do there to make the user feel like it's a natural extension of your brand. And then finally, with a component like the calling card or the applet itself, you can actually brand the desktop icon as well. So if you're providing support in a managed way, you know, maybe you have a support package that your users can subscribe to monthly, for example, you can deploy the calling card as part of that service, leave it on the desktop with your logo, brand the icon so they know exactly, you know, it's one-click access to get to your support agents, and it's a name that's known to them and that they trust.
That's great. So completely customizable, branded to match your tone of voice, your look and feel, so that customers feel like when they're coming there, they're not coming to some strange site that seems super sketchy, and now they're like, oh, maybe I don't want to get the support I need and I'm just going to discontinue service with this provider. So it seems like a huge value add.
Definitely is. And then, the final aspect of security that I mentioned was data protection. This isn't really like a fun or engaging topic, but it is one that is number one for all of our customers. And you want to make sure that the vendor that you've chosen, kind of checks all the boxes. And we pride ourselves on giving our customers access to audit documents. You can see the kind of audits that we've gone through for our processes and procedures, and we will freely provide those upon request. And kind of the industry standard, and I think it's widely accepted that it's uncrackable, is 256-bit encryption. For all of your customer data, the remote stream, and we pride ourselves on that level of security. And also, taking that one step further, I think as your agents access the product, there's obviously a certain level of security that's required there. And Rescue offers single sign-on and multi-factor authentication. We offer multi-factor authentication via the LastPass Authenticator app. But if you are going to set up SSO, single sign-on, you can also leverage the single sign-on, the multi-factor capabilities there as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of flexibility with the security options that are available. And obviously,
so you don't necessarily need to have LastPass Authenticator. You can access MFA via your SSO.
Exactly, yeah. So
Okay.
we don't lock you into one solution. If you're using single sign-on and you want to use Microsoft's Authenticator or Google's Authenticator, that definitely can be a part of your sign-on flow for Rescue.
Great flexibility.
Yeah, and then just we pride ourselves on the certifications that we have, SOC 2, ISO 27001, and all of that information can be found on our website too if you'd like to know more about that.
Great. Okay, so I want to move on to the next topic. Earlier I mentioned that more than half of our survey respondents reported an increase in the use of collaboration tools. That was largely due to the fact that in-person collaboration was probably not possible because they had moved to a more distributed workforce. And additionally, with higher turnover, you're probably looking at less experienced techs who probably need to get the advice of senior solvers in an organization. So given that they can no longer swivel over to someone else sitting behind them in the cube, they turn to collaboration tools. Chris, talk to us though about how Rescue can foster that collaboration in a more streamlined way for them.
Yeah, so I mean, as you mentioned, the collaboration tool, it's not really the best, tool for the job in this situation. Sure, it can bring multiple users and agents together, but you're missing out on the security, the admin kind of stuff that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But with Rescue, it's really easy to bring in additional resources to an active session. And you mentioned earlier the Great Resignation, right? The turnover and maybe the scarcity of your higher skilled, more expensive agents in the level 2 and 3 make it even more of an issue that you need to bring resources into a session, let's say with a level 1 agent. And with Rescue, it's as simple as clicking a button and choosing from a list of your online agents in various different groups. You can bring multiple agents, up to 5 agents, into an active session. You can control the permissions. You can have a private chat between the agents while you're in the session. And just the value that adds, like you said, you're not able to swivel over physically and talk to your level 2. But with Rescue, it's like they are there physically. We bring them to you within the tool itself.
That's pretty powerful because again, it's all about what a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? Being able to show someone, whether it's your technician or your customer, or whatever, being able to show them the problem and help them troubleshoot you is a more powerful and faster way to resolve a problem. I would also expect that it's a great training on the job for that level 1 tech who perhaps is a little bit more junior, to have that advice from the senior solver and to see it in action.
Absolutely. And with Rescue, they can record the session too, so they can always go back and review that later if they want to.
Oh, that's great. Okay, moving on to number 4, robust administration and insights into agent productivity. I like to say that control freaks freak out for Rescue's granular permissions. um, but I really feel that, this is something that's incredibly important, especially for larger enterprises that want to make sure that agents have access to only what they need in order to do their job, and ensure that management has insight into agent performance, especially when they're not able to be physically present with them. So looking at agent productivity to look at areas for optimization and real-time coaching. Talk to us a little bit about these capabilities. Again, I know it's not the sexiest thing about a product, but I really think that these are some critical aspects to ensure that users have proper access and controls, and management has really that top-down view.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it's not a sexy topic, but it is an important one. It's critical that you are controlling the access that your agents have, because Rescue and remote support tools alike, they are powerful tools. They do give access into a system, so you want to make sure that you do have control over the agents. And Rescue has a comprehensive admin center with extremely granular permissions at the group level. So you can define a group of users and then determine what permissions they should and should not have access to. So important things like, for example, file transfer. Maybe an agent should not have the ability to transfer a file, or maybe record a session if it's accessing a sensitive device. So Rescue gives you that flexibility, and here's a screenshot of just some of the permissions that you have available at the group level. And the same applies for the administrators too. With Rescue, there are several tiers of admins that you can set up within the admin center. But again, you can define if they have access to adjust certain global settings on the account, if they have the ability to run reports, and so on. And also, I think it's important that a tool gives you that insight as well. Having things like an audit trail that really kind of let you know exactly what the users are doing in the tool as well. And then, we talked about, or you mentioned the insight into agent productivity. And this screenshot is the Rescue Command Center. And this is really an admin where an admin likely will spend most of their day, because it gives you a complete breakdown of your support center and kind of what your agents are doing. You can run reports and look at metrics for your average handle time, see if there's a particular group or group of agents that are getting slammed with sessions, and really monitor things in real time to make sure that the operation is running smoothly. And it also has the ability to monitor live chats as well. So if you see maybe an agent that's struggling, you can jump into the chat as well and kind of ensure that they're on the right track. So there's a ton of possibility that Rescue offers an admin in the command center as well.
That's pretty cool. Okay. So number 5 in evaluating remote support tools today is thinking about the reputation of the vendor you're working with. Are they reliable, trustworthy, easy to do business with? My recommendation here is simply that you do your homework. There are plenty of third-party review sites. You can ask for references. Just really understanding it's partly about the functionality of the product, but it's also largely about the relationship with the provider. We're really proud that Rescue has been voted the best relationship and best feature set in the remote desktop software category by TrustRadius, which is a third-party review site. And we take tremendous pride in that because we value our customer relationships. And we've worked really hard on building a really solid product. But again, I think, working with a trusted partner, and that's who we like to think we are. So Chris, maybe you could talk us through, some of the other value adds from Rescue.
Yeah, certainly. So we're not just going to give you the software and kind of walk away. Like you said, Mary, we are going to be there with you every step of the way and be that partner that you need. And it starts right at the beginning with the onboarding and training that we offer, both in the product and on demand. You have a full suite documentation videos that can help you get up and running in the product, because we understand it is a lot to onboard a new tool, or it can be. And also giving you that kind of single point of contact here at GoTo as well. So engaging your account manager, whenever you need to get that extra level of support. And speaking of support, we offer free support 24/7. We have staff all times of the day and night. Chat, email. We have our phone support as well, and you can engage them anytime. And we also understand that, the larger a customer or a company is, you have complex needs, you're going to need a higher level of engagement. And we do also offer VIP customer support with a dedicated team that can help you with those more complex needs if you should need them.
That's awesome. Okay, so that wraps excuse me, the 5 considerations when evaluating remote support tools. Just to recap what we've talked about delivering, supporting all types of devices, including equipment with fast, reliable support, keeping agents and customers connected and protected regardless of network or device. Streamlining collaboration is key for the hybrid work area, and collaboration in session speeds up resolutions and helps train junior techs. We also talked about how providing leadership with the controls and visibility into what agents have access to and how productive they are can be incredibly valuable. And finally, that you should look for a trusted partner who's reliable and is not going to nickel and dime you. With that, I'd like to turn the call back over to Melanie to open up the question and answer session. Melanie?
Great, thanks guys. All right, so we are now opening the floor to any questions. As a reminder, if you have questions, please submit those in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. And I can already see that we have a lot of great questions coming in. So our first question is, you talked about the different entry points. How do I know if one is better than the other in our use case?
Yeah, so I can take that one. That's a good question, and I talked about the flexibility of Rescue. And truly, there are multiple options that you have in the product. I don't know if one is better than the other, so to speak. It's more around what is going to work for you and your specific use case. And just as a reminder, we have the web entry form. There's the calling card, which is a desktop component. There's also channel engagement if you want the end user to be able to start the session. And all of those are brandable and customizable. So finding one that works for your existing use case. I think one of the benefits of Rescue is you don't have to change your workflow. You don't have to change your engagement model. If there's something that is already working for you, I think Rescue can definitely fit that your existing use case very well.
Can someone choose more than one use case, Chris? I mean, more than one connection method?
They can, yeah, and that's the great thing about Rescue. It's not like if you pick one, you're kind of locked in. You can use any and all of them in any combination that you wish. So you can have the calling card, you can have channels, whatever works for you.
Okay, so if you wanted like you talked about a managed service, VIP support or something for a calling card, but then
Mhm.
you could have, other folks that come in through your typical self-hosted pin page kind of thing.
Absolutely. And if you want, you can have all of your agents support all of those different entry points. Or if you have different teams that are going to be supporting different entry points, you can break them out by groups. And that's the power of Rescue. There's so much flexibility both in the admin center and in the entry points themselves.
Great.
Great. Next question, is there anything specific we should look at in remote support tool if we want to support both customers and employees? Would you recommend for it or against it?
Yeah, so I mean, we've already talked about the flexibility of Rescue, and I think ensuring that the product that you select can support your customers where they are. So, you know, buying a product that can only support one type of device really is going to kind of lock you into and restrict you supporting giving support to a group of your customers. So flexibility across different devices, whether it's Mac, iOS, Android, and also, like we talked about earlier, the flexibility to support physical devices. You want to make sure that you can engage your customers where they are, and as Marie mentioned, behaviors have changed, and they've changed for the long term. The pandemic maybe kind of, you know, the situation might be improving, but consumers, customers alike have not changed their habits. So making sure you pick a product that can kind of support your customers where they are, that's going to be key.
And when you talk about consolidation, you can also think about it from the lens of if you're a large contact, if you're a support center supporting customers, but you also have perhaps a help desk that's supporting employees, we oftentimes see organizations that are consolidating their remote support tools across their internal IT and their customer facing IT support as a way to just streamline their operations, single source with a vendor, and really control some cost as well, because you obviously get that a volume discount in terms of having to support multiple agents using the tool. So I think there's definitely benefits there to consolidating across customer support and employee support use cases, and Rescue can certainly fit the bill for both.
Great. All right, next question. We're debating whether to embed remote support into our mobile app for customers. Can you share some of the main benefits?
Yeah, I mean, definitely huge benefits across the board. Rescue does have a mobile SDK for both Android and iOS. And I think it's really pretty important that you can keep your customer, you know, in a single app that they're already using. So if they've downloaded your software, your app, you know, having to go elsewhere to get support for that app is obviously a huge pain, and it's going to probably cause more problems than you're trying to solve initially. Um, and obviously you keep your branding as well, right? So with our SDK, you can truly embed all of the Rescue functionality within the app itself to give you access to the app, help the customers navigate the app, chat with them within the app. You can even do things like whiteboarding within the app to kind of help them figure out where exactly they need to go. So there's a lot of power there if you're willing to make the investment.
Great. Next question. What are some of the biggest challenges your customers are seeing in supporting their customers?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I think, like I mentioned, the behaviors of customers haven't changed, and I think the demand to be able to support these physical devices where you can't actually go and view them in person, and with the inventory shortage, I don't think that's going away anytime soon. So being able to kind of prevent, you know, returns, RMAs, things like that are huge, and it's a problem across the board. You know, the shortage, the production and supply chain issues are wide-reaching, and our customers are telling us that it's still very much an issue. And I would say that's probably one of the biggest challenges that we're hearing about today.
All right, doing a quick time check here. It looks like we have time for one more question if you guys are game. All right, do you integrate with Salesforce, and what does that cost?
Sure. Yeah, Rescue, we have several integrations, Salesforce being one of them. So what that means is you can generate a Rescue PIN code from within a Salesforce case. You can then send that PIN code via Salesforce itself, you know, via email or via comment to the user. You can then have your Rescue session in the Rescue console, and then at the end of that session, all of the session data, so you know, the metrics about the session, what tools we used, the chat log, those are all passed back to the Salesforce case. So you can have Salesforce be your single source of truth and keep your agents in there where they're productive for most of their day. And like all of our integrations, it does not come with an extra cost. So no addition there. Like Marie said, we're not going to nickel and dime you for something that is key to your productivity.
Great.
Great. Great. Well, we had a lot of great questions today, but unfortunately, that's all the time we had. If we didn't get to your question, we will follow up with you individually. So thank you for submitting all your questions. And with that, I'd like to thank Chris and Marie for speaking with us today, and for all of you who joined our session. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.